Hi there, I'm Nafisa Latic, and this is Across the Balkans. On the show today, Greece is pushing ahead with a tougher approach to asylum seekers. The Greek government opened 2 more refugee camps last week that have sparked criticism by rights groups for their restrictive measures. The high-security detention centers are being called closed camps because facilities can only be accessed with electronic chips, and the magnetic gates are closed at night. Greece inaugurated the first such camp on the island of Samos in September and plans to open 2 more despite concerns over the restriction of people's movement inside the camps. But the EU and Greece disagree. The bloc committed around 280 million euros for the new centers and says they will provide humane conditions.
These are camps that provide humane living conditions for those seeking asylum in the European Union, at the same time provides appropriate security level safety for the asylum seekers, our staff and the local communities.
The European Union is turning a page in its migration policy. We are leaving behind everything that we hated about European migration policy.
My guest today is Konstantinos Pseikakos. He is the interim head of Doctors Without Borders Balkan Migration Mission based in Athens. Konstantinos, thanks so much for coming in on the show. Are these closed camps opened by Greek authorities on the islands of Kos and Leros providing human conditions? What is your assessment of the situation inside the camps?
Today we are experiencing the construction and inauguration of new larger multi-purpose facilities with a double barbed wire fencing, surveillance cameras and towers. The first example was in Samos. Recently we had the inauguration of 2 other centers in Kos and Leros, and there are more to come. They are called controlled movement centers. But from our perspective and how it's been experienced by the people, they are prison-like centers. We see a model that, although it was implemented and was inhumane by Moria a year ago and was destroyed, to be copied and reproduced in new locations, the narrative and the setup of similar situation and centers as it was in Moria, and we knew how was the situation.
Right.
They're building centers only to trap people and to create an inhumane situation and undignified policy of reception for the people who arrive in the islands.
And give us more details about how exactly these camps work. What's the procedure to get inside and how does it work?
So upon arrival on any Greek island, the Greek authorities will take you to this facility in order to start having the beginning of your registration work and your documentation. And normally you should go through asylum procedures of entering in Greece, where the Greek authorities, the asylum service, will assess if you are admissible for asylum in Greece or not. And then based on this decision, further steps are to be followed. The mentality from these centers, though by the Greek government implemented, is to keep people and deter them from being in the city centers of the islands and being integrated or having access to humane conditions. In principle, they should have access to all the service in the center, and they should remain there until the asylum process is completed. Including COVID restrictions as they're implementing everywhere, you can imagine that the free movement of people from those centers has been prohibited and hindering the process. And it's not as open as it should be or dignified in the process.
Right, right. And, you know, the bureaucracy, we've seen that before, takes months. So these people are fleeing practically without anything on themselves. So what's their option? Just to sit in the camp and wait? For how long? In what conditions?
The conditions today, if we take an example of Karatepe, we have people who are living in tents, in iso boxes, who are completely inappropriate for the extreme weather conditions of winter or summer. They can only sit around and wait for the process to advance. They are allowed only a few hours per week to exit and attend personal matters or businesses, and they can stay in that limbo, asylum and further on living conditions, Libon, in this situation for several months. And you can imagine a situation like that, how it could aggravate and create a medical situation in terms of mental health for an individual when they live under those kind of conditions.
Right, and Doctors Without Borders already call these camps jailed-like camps. Now, open structures, you were mentioning, Moria, already shamed Greece. And these closed camps, the EU and Greece both see as a solution. Here is what the Greek Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, said about his country's migration policies on Good Morning Britain. That's a show in the UK. In a couple of weeks ago, I do want to listen to his response on the question about the migration rules in Greece with you, and then we'll comment.
We have granted more than 50,000 rights to asylum over the past 2 years, so it's very difficult to accuse Greece of not being humanitarian in addressing this problem. At the same time, I have an obligation to protect my borders, so I think we have a tough but fair migration policy.
Tough but fair migration policies, he says. Now, are the closed camps in line with Europe's hardening stance towards refugees, and what can we expect moving forward?
So today, the solution from European leaders, as such, is to create an illusion that migration is a danger and that should be stopped and criminalized in the process. Yes, those senders are in line with this kind of narrative, and they are moving towards this direction. And instead of spending millions on segregation and humiliation of people who are actually seeking protection in Europe, it would be better to invest and be more consistent in safe reception, relocation, integration programs. It has to do a lot with the narrative we give today in migration. And today, definitely, the European Union, the European leaders have chosen to create the illusion, as I said before, that migration is a danger. And they're approaching the topic, a sensitive topic, a humane topic, that requires humanitarian assistance as such.
Right, you're mentioning the EU and the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights, Mirjana Miladinovic, wrote to Greek ministers even back in May, saying she fears the closed nature of the camps would lead to long-term deprivation of liberty of people, which can have very harmful effects on their mental health, especially on children who often experience detention as shocking and even traumatizing. I mean, lots of criticism from your NGO, from Mirjana Miladinovic, also the EU's Commissioner for Human Rights. But seems like the Greek authorities don't have exact response to this criticism, don't they?
And if you ask me, I don't think they will have, because for them, as I said before, they have chosen a narrative of border control and border security. And when we are pointing out obvious limitations and problematics in this policy making that has been realized in places like Karatepe or Samos, consequently, the new multi-purpose rig, we can keep seeing people becoming more vulnerable and more subjected to these practices and aggravating their mental health situation and their well-being in general. As we see, yes, seemingly it seems the situation is better, but if we deconstruct the situation and how it is today, definitely there is a problematic situation that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. In terms to, if we want to say we have a humanitarian approach to the situation in the islands today.
Right, right. So what can your group and other aid groups do in the meantime to protect the freedom of movement of these people?
What we do today is to provide medical care to people that we see in those camps. We provide care to men, women, and children in terms of mental health, specific support to victims of torture and violence and sexual violence as such. And we are making sure that we are voicing out and we are raising the issues these people are having in those facilities to the Greek authorities, to European authorities, and keep requesting for a change in the policy making and the paradigm of the approach here. It's a constant narrative and continuous purpose of us of keep requesting the European Union and the leaders of it, including the Greek one, to change the policy of deterrence and segregation to acceptance and integration.
Konstantinos Psikakos, there, the interim head of Doctors Without Borders Balkan Migration Mission. Konstantinos, thanks so much for joining us here on Across the Balkans. I appreciate your insights for us. Montenegro shares cultural ties and positive political relations with Turkey. And the two friendly nations also have increasingly strong economic links. Turkey is already among the top 10 investors in Montenegro. Almost 1/3 of all foreign companies in Montenegro originate from Turkey. And Turkish investors see several sectors such as real estate, tourism, logistics, energy and information technology as good investment opportunities. Mirjana Miladinovic traveled the country to find out what's attracting Turks to do business in the land of the Black Mountain.
In recent years, Montenegro has become an increasingly popular destination for starting a business, especially among Turkish citizens. The Bureau of Statistics says there were more than 11,000 foreign-owned companies in the country last year, and nearly a third of them were opened by people from Turkey. Some of them were drawn by the peace and security offered by a small country like Montenegro. Some came to explore the potential offered by this underdeveloped pearl of the Mediterranean, and some wanted to build on economic trends that could be expanded further in Europe. I'm Mirjana Miladinovic, and I'm telling the story of these Turkish entrepreneurs who came to Montenegro and decided to stay. We start our journey in the capital Podgorica, and what better way than to visit a Turkish cafe right in the heart of the city. For years, Erhan Emek and his wife Canan dreamed about opening their own restaurant. In 2017, they decided to make it happen. Erhan left his teaching job in Turkey and moved to Montenegro.
Arkadaşlarım sayesinde oldu. Onlar buraya ziyarete gelmişlerdi. Karadağ. Böyle bir fikir doğdu. Beni de yönlendiler. Gelmek ister misin dediler. Ben de geldim.
Erhan's wife followed a year later to become the cafe's chef.
Çalışmayı çok seviyorum. İnsanlardan yemek yedikten sonra ki gelen olumlu iltifatlar, dönüşler çok hoşuma gidiyor. Kaos yok. Relax, herkes böyle mutlu. Herkesin keyfi yerinde, sakinler. Yani beni gelen olumsuz hiçbir davranış daha görmedim. Bilmiyorum, herkes mutlu yani burada. Pozitif.
And they want to stay. They are planning on expanding the cafe and buying a house by the seaside or in the mountains. Their daughter, Sila, also decided to do her university studies in Montenegro.
It is a small country, but we think that it is really beautiful. All the nature, all the people, they were so polite to us. We didn't see any bad or negative comments about us being from another nationality. They were all okay with that, and they're really helpful.
Can and Meliha Aslan Khan are another couple who moved here from Turkey with their 2 children a few years ago.
4 years ago, I came here for researching a little bit market, especially for construction. I came here through some of my friends, researched the market, and I see that there is a huge opportunity to start some construction business here. Almost 17 years I am working abroad, except Turkey, some other countries. I was working there. And Montenegro, we came here and we actually satisfied about the construction business. And also my wife start her own business, real estate and consultancy job. Both of us, we are working with different companies, but same partners.
They see the country as full of opportunities.
Our main office, main construction is places in Podgorica, but for the consultancy side, we are also working seaside and other north also. We have different portfolios for our clients. And for my husband's business, we will going to start now one villas project with our friends.
They also see Montenegro as a safe place for their kids. who are learning Montenegrin and going to local public schools. Meliha took me to visit one of her Turkish friends who has a sweets shop in the center of the city. Erhan Sarac thinks Montenegro is a perfect stepping stone to achieve his larger ambitions.
Bu görmüş olduğunuz tüm ürünleri biz kendi fabrikamızda, kendi imalatlarımızı yapmaktayız. Ayrıyeten birçok tescilli 5 yıldızlı otel, restoranlar, kafeler, mini shop dediğimiz ufak tarzda dükkanlara da ürünler yapmaktayız. Ayrıyeten Montenegro gibi, Sırbistan ve Balkan ülkeleri olmak kaydıyla bu tür yerlere kendi bünyemizde bu şekillemesine mini shoplar yapıyoruz.
Erhan is planning to expand the business here in Montenegro, but says he will always stay connected to Turkey.
Biz Sugarworld olaraktan, imalatçı olaraktan Türkiye'deyiz. Biz Montenegro'da bu şekillemesine dükkanlar yapmayı planlıyoruz. Bu aileme sıra gelince, ailem ve eşim, çocuklarım her zaman buraya geliyor ve burayı çok seviyorlar.
After visiting Montenegro's official capital, I decided to go to its tourism capital, Budva, where I met Murat Ergin, Chief Marketing Officer of the Merit Royal Splendid Casino. His group owns many casinos globally, but the one in Montenegro stands out.
In 19th century, the Lord Byron has texted something. Let me start from these words. He said, "At the birth of our planet, the most beautiful encounter between land and sea should have happened in Montenegro coastal area." I remember the first day that I've taken the flight to Montenegro. That moment was the moment that I fall in love with Montenegro. So it won't be very easy for me to go out of Montenegro or have a separate life without Montenegro, I guess.
Its original name was Casino Royale, and it was mentioned in 2006 James Bond movie.
Which would explain how he could set up a high-stakes poker game at Casino Royale in Montenegro.
We know that this movie is shot not in this casino, but the name is clearly mentioning the exact name, but what's going on in the movie, because the white-haired lady, you remember, was talking to the James Bond, and she was telling you go directly to Montenegro Casino Royale. This is the place.
Murat's company is working on building the most luxurious hotel in Budva, and Murat says he expects Turkish investment here to only grow.
As a part of NATO, Montenegro, and also a candidate of European Union, is very important for us, for an investor, because we can make our plans in a longer base. As I told you before, we have started here small for 6 years ago. Now we have a bigger project, and hopefully we are going to have a bigger project in Montenegro.
From this pure luxury in Budva, we decided to visit some construction sites in Bar.
There I met Nuri Uchunju. He was convinced to move his family and start a real estate development business in Montenegro 4 years ago because of the government's pro-business policies. While the paperwork can be slow, it costs just €1 for anyone to start a company. And Nuri's gamble is already paying off.
We are selling them approximately 30% in the Montenegro, in this building. We sold out everything. And the other is all foreign guys. But they have relationship with the Montenegro. For example, I sold one Canadian Chevik, but he has also relationship, their family is living in here also. One of them is from the Ukrainian, but their sister is living here. Word in small hand also, yes, it's like that. We in here, Indian Chevik living here, Canadian человек in here, one of them American человек living here, and also the other Ukrainian, and also Russian, and also Turk, and also from Podgorica, one women also living that position, and also from the bar they bought places.
Nuri and his family have adapted well to local life thanks to learning Montenegrin.
Ja pričam tvoj jezik, but moj sin, moj ćerke pričaju tvoj jezik brzo, odlično.
Srećni smo što živimo tu I ostanut ćemo tu.
Montenegro is an increasingly appealing life and work destination for people from Turkey. But what about people from Montenegro? Many have also traveled to Turkey looking for a better life and also to save a life. At the Acıbadem Clinic in Istanbul, you can find a lot of people from Montenegro in need of healthcare they can't find in Montenegro. Tatjana Vukicevic ended up there after she received a call from her neighbor Nikola's mother. She discovered that Nikola's kidney transplant had been cancelled because the donor was not a match. Despite being 20 years older than him, Tatjana had the same blood type and in that moment decided to volunteer.
U tom telefonskom razgovoru, ne znam, taknuta negdje iznutra njenom mukom, taknuta negdje svim tim što im se dešavalo I sa prvim djetetom I sad s Nikolom I ne znam. Ja sam samo rekla, pa dobro, Ljiljo, nemoj da plačeš, ja ću da idem u Istanbul I ja ću da dam Nikoli bubu. Ono, plačeš više.
Tatjana spent 40 days in the Istanbul clinic, but both she and Nikola came out fully recovered. She was awarded Montenegro's first ever prize for philanthropy.
I tačno sam ponosna što on ide sad, što je on tako lijep, zgodan, visok, a bio je tako oslabio I baš onako bolest ga je bila iscrpila. I tačno mi je milo da ga vidim takvog I donekle u sebi osjetim, zatreperim I donekle sam ja zaslužna zato što je on sad vratio se u taj normalan život kao I svi mladi, jel?
These stories show that no matter how much time passes, the ties between two people through history can be restored and built upon in different ways. Mirjana Miladinovic, TRT World, Podgorica.
Hundreds of people gathered in Skopje to say farewell to the victims of the tragic bus crash in Bulgaria. 46 people were killed, including 12 children, on November 23rd when their bus hit a barricade on a highway outside Sofia and caught fire. They were returning from a trip to Istanbul, and North Macedonia's transport minister said the bus was not registered for international transport. We'll leave you with the pictures from the funerals and vigils held for the victims. Thanks for watching this episode of Across the Balkans. See you next time. From me and the team, bye-bye for now.